Hey everybody, it's Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today I'm so excited to be sharing this really whimsical pumpkin with you. I'm going to show you how you can create this for yourself at home, painting along with me step by step. On the mic is my husband, John.
Hello.
You're going to hear him throughout this lesson. He helps me teach this lesson, so if I'm doing a technique, explaining a color mix, showing you a tool, one of our robotic cameras is actually positioned and facing at or zoomed into what I'm talking about, so you can really see it at home. I've been doing this a long time on YouTube. If you check out my channel, it's been here a minute, and there's like 3,000 other painting lessons. And one thing I have definitely learned for you guys at home painting along is what you can see and what I explain, well, you can absolutely do. So just know if this is like, this pumpkin like spoke to you and is like in your heart, and you're like, oh, I don't know if I can do it. You can totally do it. You can completely do this, and I'm going to help you. We're going to break it down, everything you need to know to be able to paint along. Now, as part of that, I will show you how to draw the pumpkin, as it says in the title, how to draw and paint a pumpkin. I'm going to show you how to draw it, but also in the description down below is a couple things that will help you. The materials for this class, if you just need a quick look through to see what we used in the class, the materials are listed down below. The other thing that's listed down below is my art store. If there's anything on today's class, paint color, tool, that you're like, oh man, I really want that, it's available at my store, and you can check that out. That's a good thing to do. You don't need to do that. That's just optional. And the other thing is a link to the free traceable. And also to websites and all my social media. So all of that is hidden down in the description down below. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is go over the materials with you. So there's nothing for you to do but get your paint, get your brushes, come back and meet me with the easel. We're going to paint this together for real. Come on, let's go. So for today's class, I'm going to be using an 8x8 canvas. And on the palette, I have the following colors: Mars Black, Burnt Sienna, Yellow Ochre, Cad Yellow Medium, Cad Red Medium, Quinacridone Magenta. This is the Ultramarine Blue. This is the Phthalo Blue, Phthalo Green, and in the center I have Titanium White. And so for the first thing, let's start by painting the canvas black. So for this step, all you've got to do is paint your canvas a solid black. I'm going to do this funny thing I do where I squeeze directly from the tube onto my canvas and then mist it and paint it in. But however you want to paint your canvas black, you do. And then you can also buy these black ahead of time too.
I like your method. It seems to be effective.
It's effective and it's fun, and I don't know, I feel good about it, so I use it. Not because it's like technique-wise a superior technique by any means. It's just that I've been painting a long time, so I know how much paint I can squeeze out to paint the canvas. So it's kind of like a experienced workaround trick. I do make sure that I want a solid coat of black. So I want all of the surface black, and I want the black to be deep and cover the white of the canvas completely. So black, black, black. Now, as soon as you have that painted in, wash your brush out, dry it, put it aside to wash it later, because that's what we do to save our brushes to last the longest, is we wash them after every painting session.
Every painting session.
Every painting session with soap and water. Saves you a ton of money. I'm going to dry this with a hair dryer. I'm going to do it on a low setting so I don't get color shift or any VOCs or any of that. For you at home, what you're going to want to do, whether you're on a live, a premiere, a replay, doesn't matter. When I'm drying my canvas, you put pause on me and don't hit play until your canvas is dry. All right, let's dry our canvases together. Now, don't let my nails fool you. This is an autumn pumpkin. This is just a fall pumpkin, but you could customize this pumpkin to be a holiday pumpkin if you felt like it. Pretty easy to do that. But right now, we're going to just draw our pumpkin. Now, I'm going to draw a circle that's going to take up the space that I want my pumpkin to take up on the canvas. So I'm just very lightly, this is a Dritz chalk tool, and it allows me to draw with chalk on my canvas. And what's nice about that is that I can erase very easily or paint it out very easily. I'm going to just, it's a bit of an oval. My pumpkin shape should be a bit of an oval. You can have tall pumpkins, you can have squished pumpkins. Really, however you want to have them, it is just fine. Then I'm going to want to come here, and while I'm at it, I'm going to Make a nice little stem. Nice little stem. And then I'm going to bring a little curve line right here. And then another one here. And I kind of bump the end that. See how I bump that end? Bring a line around here. A little bit to the left and I bump the end. Come straight out and then I'm going to come back. Now you may have to put some of the bumps back. I don't want to mislead you. Think that the bumps are permanent. You may have to put the bumps back as you paint the background and as you paint everything. And this one can be just divided into this number of segments. So that's how you get that pumpkin in perspective. And what's great is because squashes are just sort of, well, they have a lot of personality. And there's a lot of variance between pumpkins and gourds. So it's one of those great places. Like, for sure, this is a great step to use the traceable if you didn't feel like you doing the pumpkin and freehanding it in. But I highly recommend that drawing the pumpkin is one of those places where drawing is a lot easier. All right, when we come back, I'm going to tell you what we do next. Now, I'm going to want to paint my background with my phthalo blue paint right over the black. It's going to keep the value of the background very dark, but will allow me to get that blue glow going, which is really going to look great with the orange. Kind of coming around here, just phthalo blue. You could just do like a Prussian blue if you didn't want to paint the background black first, but I find like the blue is great. Now, if your blue, my blue looks navy on my canvas right now. That's how it looks to the eye. I can physically see it, and it is painting over my black, and it's just a dark navy tone. You know how sometimes navy looks like black? It's doing that right now. But if your canvas at home is not doing that, that might be the quality of paint that you have, right? And so that might be an indicator that you need to upgrade one of your colors so that your paint can cover the background. Now, it's still pretty wet, but by painting it this solid blue, it lets me come through and work segments at a time, right? Which is what I want to do. I want to work segments at a time. So let's call Paint It All Blue a step, which is not going to look like a step if you skip through, but it is a step. And I'm going to come here, and now I'm going to take a little more blue on my brush, come over where I've painted before, just kind of reactivate that paint. Right, if it's gotten dry, and where it's still wet, I'm going to grab smidge of my white. Come around, make sure that I got the bumps, and then I'm going to just loosely brush out the white glow. See how we're getting a little white glow? Yeah. Little haloing around the... And if you're worried about having too much white, you can always add blue. I'll brush out. All right, I'm going to rinse my brush off here. And so it's just a little bit of a smudgy little glow. You can always take a damp brush and clean up anything that if it went over your pumpkin in a way you didn't like, or you want to change it, where it's still wet, you can lift the paint. See? You can lift the paint. Now I'm going to take my blue again, paint around the stem. Just reactivating this nice depth of blue, making this background even more navy. You can't get, unless you do like a special blue pigment that's super dark and highly pigmented, you can't really get this richness without doing the black layer first to get the deep navy. You either have to buy a color that is there already.
Well, this one's turning out pretty great.
Yeah. Just brush this through here. So I oftentimes go brush back and I crisscross my brush strokes to sort of hide them to make the pattern irregular. I'm brushing that out. See, as it comes back, it kind of gets dimmer, and so that's a nice way of getting that effect. And brush this back in. Now, if you get it too white, you can always come back through with pure blue. So if any area gets away from you too much, you can just come back with pure blue. I'm just brushing around here. Just taking that through here, maybe up to this little angle here because it got away from me a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is I will come back through with just pure blue. Just a little haloing. All right, let's call that a step.
Do we need to dry this?
Yeah, we should.
Let's go ahead and dry.
Let's try. Now I'm going to want to come down underneath here and I'm going to take a little bit of my ultramarine blue and my quinacridone magenta and I'm going to make some purple. Kind of come underneath my pumpkin with that purple, which again isn't really going to show against the black. We want that purple there. That's quinacridone magenta and ultramarine blue. I might bring it up here a little bit. And then just the smidgiest smidge. Make sure that there's a deep purple shadow, but we want to just kind of cast a little purple under here. This will play with the orange that's coming really beautifully. Just a little bit underneath here. Just should distinctly show as a little bit purple. It's kind of misty effect around the pumpkin. Again, I'm going to want to dry it before the next step. And then in the next step, we're going to get a little playful. So I want to come and put some playfulness around the pumpkin. I'm going to take a number 6 round sepia by Raphael. This is just a nice detailed round brush. That'll give me a good point. I'm going to come up here, take a little bit of my burnt sienna and my phthalo green. And then perhaps a little bit of my cad yellow. And a smidge of white. I'm going to come through here. And flick up and flick back. And flick out. We're just making little light marks. And a little counter mark. Playful. Be playful.
Very little playful.
A little bit of a curl. See, these brush strokes have a curl to them. little more yellow green here. I bring marks up high. It's okay if you go over your little pumpkin a bit because we're going to be dancing the pumpkin out into the sky. Dance, dance, pumpkin dance.
Yeah.
Dance, pumpkin dance. Dance, pumpkin dance. Oh, curls. So how I find it is I just start to look at the space and I imagine before I make the brush stroke where the brush stroke is going to go. That's a little thing I don't talk about enough. But as I'm painting these, right, because as I'm painting them, they haven't been painted before. So I'm having to imagine it as I'm painting it. But that's still a good exercise for you to get into with your own artwork. I'm going to come down a little bit. More green, maybe a little more yellow green, a little darker green as we go down. But just imagine where the brush strokes are going to go. And then you want to see if you can kind of picture it. Just picture it a little bit. Sometimes when I picture it, I do a great job. Sometimes when I picture it, I do not do a good job.
Well, every day you gotta work on it a little bit.
Well, that's how you get a good, like, little bit of visual library to work out.
Yeah.
I curl this a little more here. All right. And I'm going to come and get a little bit darker green. A little darker green. Very colorful around our little pumpkin. It's very beginner friendly because of these little lines. Even though these lines may be frustrating you, this playfulness lets people know, oh, hey, this does not need to be a hardcore realistic painting. We're painting something that's also artful. So let's dry everything. We come back. I'll show you what layer we do next. So now I'm going to want to come down here and I'm going to take a little bit of my burnt sienna and maybe my Mars black. And I'm going to begin to make little curvy, these are kind of like little straw marks. You can see what I'm saying here. A little bit of straw. So it's a little more level. It's dark. And the reason that it's dark is because, the pumpkin would be breaking up the light. I'm being very loose with my brush here. I'm being very expressive. 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 I'm being expressive. Bit of dark underneath here. I want to keep this dark. Let me purple it again later. Rinse, rinse, rinse. Grab a little bit of your yellow ochre. Just kind of crisscross it. This is like how we can paint like loose expressive straw. You don't have to paint the most layered perfect straw. We can just be messy like straw is. Straw just flies around everywhere. That's what straw do. Flies around everywhere. Now I'm going to take a little bit of my cad red and my cad yellow. Add some playfulness. Through here. Just a little bit playful around here. Maybe I'll get a little bit of my magenta. Oh, gotta rinse out my brush. I have yellow in there. I'm going to pull out a little magenta, and I don't mind if it gets into my purple a bit, right? Picks up a little bit of blue. That's okay. Find my perfect purple to add to the canvas. I'll know it when I see it. Just little curved brush strokes. They're dancing through here. Just making a bunch of crazy energy. Maybe add a little bit to your straw, a little bit of the purple to the straw. A little darker purple. Just keep playing with the color. Very colorful, colorful. A little purple down underneath here. Super loose, super expressive. All right. So that is a lot going on here, and we definitely want to dry everything. So now I'm going to take a little bit of my yellow ochre, and I'm still on my number 6 round, and I'm going to go ahead and paint my stem in a little bit. I'm going to do that just with my yellow ochre at this time. Going to kind of curve it back in. It has a nice big wide. I'll bring that back there. Okay. And then I'm going to start to get my basic orange going on the pumpkin. And weirdly enough, I'm going to begin with a bit of purple. And I'm going to start by painting my pumpkin in purple. Go around. This is just for these outer edges. I'm going around. And then I can get a little bit of my cad red mixed into that purple. Get a good amount of that mixed in there. I'm going to brush it up heavier on the bottom. I'm going to come here and get just a little more of my cad red and my yellow. And just roughly paint this in right here. This is just a rough first little goal. Then I can take my little brush strokes down through here, kind of use this brush to blend it in. So I'm kind of mimicking what I have outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to keep doing that. So we're going to go around the whole pumpkin. And take a little bit of my ultramarine blue and Quinn together. And just start to paint the depth of the pumpkin in. Mix a little more of that purple in there. Just blend that in. Then I can always come here and get a little bit of lightness.
It's really a wow pumpkin.
Oh, that's too much red. Get a little yellow into it. We're going to just brush that through. So we are taking that through the segments. Just a little purple into the red to make that slightly deeper color. I'm not even worry about my oranges as of yet. Start to add the little highlights. We're going to get really playful with this.
Yeah.
So what I would say is the hard part is managing your color between the purple and red and the purple. That's the hardest part of all of it. And come into here and get some of this red with the purple. So I just mix a little blue and quinacridone in there to get the color. But that's what it basically is the cad red with purple. Just adding a little bit of that burgundy to the... We're going to build up. This is a fun painting, but if you have very inexpensive paint, this could be a challenge.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's a lot of light colors over dark colors. Now, the workaround for that is if you just can't get it with your paint, is to paint your pumpkin white and dry it, and then just do this from scratch. You could do that. Right now we're just painting in some segments on a gourd. On a gorgy gourd.
It's Gordy segments.
It's gourdy segments. Little gourdy segments, and I'm just kind of making sure I like my little gourd. Okay. I am going to want to dry everything. When I come back, I'm going to show you what we do next. Okay, so I'm going to want to come back and get a little bit of my black. I'm going to come in and make sure that my stem has a little bit of a shadow on it. like you'd want it to. I'm going to get a little bit of my brown. A little bit of brown on it. Some more yellow ochre. Brushing that back in. I'm still using my number 6 round. And now I'm going to get a little white. The thing you got to watch on the round brush is it picking up too much water. You got to control the water on the round brush so that your paint doesn't get too wet. Just a little bit of a highlight there. And a little bit of one at the tip of the stem. Now I'm going to start going through and I'm going to mix a little bit of my, I might get some Quin Magenta over towards my Cad Red. A little Quin Magenta, Cad Red together. I'm going to come back here. This back segment. And I'm going to brush forward. This color. I'm going to come around my stem. That'll be the one that bugs me the most. And then this little segment here. I'm just brushing over the color that I have.
That really intensified it.
It's intensifying it quite a lot, isn't it? Quinacridone and Cad Red Medium. I haven't even taken into the oranges yet.
Wow, that layer's just intense.
I'll brush this over here. It's okay if some of it's showing through. That's why we painted it in the first place. Segmenting out the pumpkin. This one might end up being like a lot more noticeably red. I get a little water on my brush. So sometimes you have too much water and sometimes you don't have enough. Brushing this here and there. It's okay if I dry brush low. Because what's going to happen is even as I dry brush, like the darkness will stay there. Right? So even if I kind of like blend it back in, I'm okay. The shadows, I mean. Because they're so deep and we're building up with so many layers. Quinacridone. Don't worry, if you lose any of the shadow that you need, you can always put it back. Pumpkins are one of my favorite things to paint. I paint them a lot. Paint them a lot of different ways, and I paint them a lot.
It is true. You are familiar with this gourd.
I love this gourd. This gourd is gorgeous, all right? I don't really want to dry, but we want to call this a step.
Then a step we shall call it. It is a 10th step.
I'm going to take a little bit of my yellow into my Cad Red. I'm avoiding my green that's over here. I'm going to brush. And right here, maybe have a little bit of a kind of curve stroke. You can be circular because we're going to have a bit of a highlight right here. As I come down, I let the paint be lighter, and that kind of gives it a little bit of shading.
Wow.
Okay, so I'm going to kind of come here and let this be a little bit rounded, a little more red into it. Brush it down. Loose brush strokes. This is about layering.
It's a super layery one.
It's a super layery one. It's super colorful. By the time it's all done, it's going to be the most colorful gourd we've done. A little bit rounded down here. Just pumpkining it up. Pumpkin it up. All right, let's dry everything. Dry, dry, dry it. So I want to keep painting on. I'm going to mix some brighter orange now. I'm going to get just my cad red and my cad yellow into a much brighter orange. And right here, I will just brush this down and kind of go in a circle here. And then loosely down here. And I'm going to just brush this down and kind of curve. A little more orange than that. Kind of keeping it more on the upside. If it's too yellow, you just grab some more orange and you just blend it back in. Brush it back. A little bit of curve to this. Try to make it a little messy like the outside strokes. It's looking pretty good. very pumpkin-y. I'm going to go ahead and get a little more of my white and yellow ochre. And just make sure that I've got a nice little line there. Rinse off. Come up with a nice dark line here. A little bit marked in to like shadow the bend. Might grab a little burnt sienna again. And then a little yellow ochre. These just kind of all brush and blend together. Can wipe this off. Nice loose brush strokes right here. That's pretty good. I'm going to take a little bit of my yellow over to the orange that I mixed earlier and mix a very light yellow orange. A little bit down. Just keep brightening up the segments, right? Brush that right there. Just want a loosey goose. A loosey goose. And I might take a little of my orange here. And just make sure I've got nice segmenting here. You can always come back and shade it out so you have the segments how you want it.
Really amazing.
All right.
So pumpkin-y.
It's so pumpkin. Let's grab a little bit of our straw color again, a little bit of that, and come down here and just a little bit of the toe, the brush. A little bit of lightened straw. Always good. A little bit of brown. Okay, I want to dry everything. When we come back, I'm going to show you what you do next. So I want to add a few little highlights to this. I'm going to grab my yellow and my titanium white. I'm going to very carefully add a little bit of a highlight here. A little bit here. Just a little bit of highlight to the pumpkin. Just a little bit of reflection. Now, one of the things that I can do is I can bring a little of my bright color. If I want to highlight anything, I can pop an orange or sometimes when you go over orange again with orange, it'll pop back up. See how that's working? And then I want to take a little bit of my quinacridone and my ultramarine blue, make a little purple. Just a little purple on the bottom. This kind of is speaking about the shadows. Deep purple. For the shadow on the straw. See how we're adding a little shadow to the straw? All right.
I love how this has turned out.
Yeah, this is just really gorgeous and graphic and super pretty, and I like it a lot. I'm going to take a little fluid paint, and I'm going to bring it over to my white. Going to unplug it or uncap it because I've allowed it to plug. Right. Be sure to keep your stuff clean. I'm bad at it. I just need a drop for the signature. So weighty. Okay, there we go. That's all I need. Just a drop. Just a drop.
Just that last drop.
Get a little water on my brush. This is a #1 Princeton Select liner. Nice liner. I'm going to make a very nice light straw color. And give this a little signature. Just a fun little painting that you can do. It's real cute. All right. When we come back, I'm going to tell you what you're going to do next. So the first thing for you to do is to congratulate yourself on completing a painting. Every complete painting you complete, give yourself a pat on the back. Because that's time you took for yourself, that you allowed your imagination to run wild, and your inner voice had a chance to talk with you. And that's very important human time, in my opinion. So pat on the back. I hope that you love your version of this wild pumpkin. I cannot wait to share it with everybody. I generally share this first with my patrons because they name the paintings. And then I start posting them out to the community at large. But right now, none of you have seen it in my timeline. And so I'm very excited to share it with you. But even more than that, I want to see yours. John and I love to see your paintings.
Yes, we do.
So when you finish, if you'd like to share with me, I have a group on Facebook, the Art Sherpa Official, and you can come share your version of my tutorial in there with me, and you will be treated very, very well because it's such a kind community in there. And it's a closed group, and we do curate it, so there's no Facebook craziness or nonsense in there. It's just a place to share art. Maybe you want to be one of those patrons I mentioned earlier and get a chance to name the paintings and for the mini book chapters and stuff that we release. You can do that over on Patreon or our website. Either is fine, or even here on YouTube. Whatever works best for you. Just pick one place and go for that. And we appreciate it from the bottom of our hearts.
Absolutely.
And maybe just share it out or tell your friends about this cool place to paint. Those are the things that you can do. Yep. I hope that you had fun today, because I had fun with you. It was a fun day for me. It was a little playful. It was a little looser. It was a little less serious. And I kind of like those days where art just kind of lighten up. So I'm super happy we got to share this together. I want you to be good to yourself, be good to each other, and I will see you at an easel real soon. Bye-bye.